just increase that deficit. That's a fact. It's clearly in front of you. I hear what Councillor Newmark's suggestion, and I will second his proposal, and I will happily take that to the vote. I think it's not unreasonable, and I'm happy again, Pat, to meet with you to actually try and find other options. But I think that meeting we should go back to the history books, dare I say it, look at what we had suggested in the past, I've obviously got past on my brain, but anyway, and find a way forward, because this deficit can't continue. If we actually got rid of 3 of the copies of the Town Cry at the moment, it would actually make a massive impact in that deficit, which is a fact. Again, the numbers and figures are in front of us. It would be nice to get back to having 4 copies a year, but at the moment, if we want to try and reduce this deficit and the public burden, that is a clear way to be able to start reducing that deficit. It's not unreasonable, but I do move to second Councillor Newmark's recommendation. Maybe then take that to the vote, please.
Thank you. Councillor Stout, you wish to respond?
Yes, I mean, we stand with 4 copies of the Town Crier. Whatever income we can generate, that will be to the good. We do have some ideas for that, and that will be at the entertainment meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Cornell.
Thank you. I would definitely like to be with that. Whoever's going to start raising funds, I would like to be part of it, because we were talking about raising funds, advertising for the town council, for the town crier, and I would definitely like to be part of that.
Would you like to put forward your proposal?
It's not my proposal, it's Councillor Newmark's proposal, so if I can hand back to Councillor Newmark, and I'm seconding it.
My proposal was simply to add £6,050 to the income line under the Town Council heading of the budget. I think that's straightforward.
100%.
And reduce the overall deficit accordingly.
Right. Do we have a seconder?
I'm seconding that.
Thank you. Those in favour of the proposition?
I'm in favour of that. I would like to.
No, because it needs to be.
No, I think the town crier welfare.
I want losing blood.
That's okay, lose blood for you.
Oh, right, okay.
You can keep your hands up, because I want to say something else. Your idea, Councillor Newmark, that when you did this originally, I don't know where you got it from. I have no idea. It didn't come from the GMC meeting when I chaired it, so I have no idea where this came from. So listen, Councillor Newmark, you're listening or you're talking to you're listening?
Point of order, please. Having already agreed to a budget, I believe, can we then change it?
No, we're not. No, we've agreed to four town criers per year.
That we've agreed on. But now
We just voted on it.
And there's a proposal that across party. Are we talking?
We put out a proposal on the square.
But no, we just to be clear, we've got a proposal on the table to put an income box into that area for £6,050. Yeah, absolutely, and the budget to fit that.
Yeah, can I also say, I'm just speaking to Councillor Newmark and everybody, right, because I'm answering you. I agree to attempt to raise that money for the town crier, because I've also already suggested that I go and try and raise some money from the shops in Bournemouth. So I agree to that, to that suggestion, but I don't agree to it being falling foul of the town criers.
Well, we've already, on the basis of the mayor's casting vote, adopted your group's proposal for 4 town criers. I understood we're in the middle of a vote on my proposal, which I welcome your support for. So, Madam Mayor, I believe we're in the middle of a vote.
We are indeed.
We are, so I'm sorry about it. We've already voted for 4 town criers. Sorry?
Madam Mayor, just for clarity, I think some members are slightly confused here as to what the proposal is. The proposal is to increase. You have already voted and agreed for 4 town criers for the municipal year 22-23. You are now voting on increasing the income line of the town crier in the budget by £6,050, and we're in the middle of a vote. So those in favour to raise their hands at this moment.
I don't understand it. We need to vote this explain.
So the council has already just agreed to increase the budget by £6,050, as you have before you, in order to allow 4 editions of the town crier to be used, and not 3. The proposal now is to increase the income side of the town council budget by £6,050, the corresponding amount of additional expenditure, in order that whilst 4 items will be reduced, the cost would remain to the council, to the taxpayer, as 3 additions.
No, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, I'm really sorry, and I don't think that's a reasonable.
Right, we had a vote for it, who is voting?
So we're in the middle.
We're in the middle of this vote.
If I want, so I get it, we're going to try it.
Yeah,
Still speaking?
Yeah.
Right, so.
okay, so.
You want to put him up?
No, you didn't hear Richard.
No, I think that the other.
Yeah, they could hear me as well.
We need to get on with this, please.
No, I need to, I'm really sorry, but I need to get this clear. Are you saying that, Councillor Newmark, that if we don't raise £6,050, we don't have the fourth town crier?
No.
No, Madam Chair, to put this really simply, you've already voted to produce a 4th town crier. I have proposed that because that will increase the deficit from around £65,500 to over £70,000, we include an income line which will take the deficit back down but create the imperative to fundraise that £6,050 through advertising. I think that's fiscal responsibility. I think it's basic maths, and I'm really trying to be helpful here.
You are, yes, I'm not saying you're not helpful.
I think we really
I'm
do
saying-
need, so Councillor Parnell, we've already had half this vote.
I think we need to do things through the chair.
I think we've already had vote, half this vote. We have 6 for this.
Yeah, okay.
So we need to do voting now.
We should vote, yes.
So in favour of the new mark.
Those in favour of Councillor Newmark's suggestion?
I know you're on.
Six in favour.
Those against?
I would like to make an amendment to that. I would like
We're in the middle of a vote.
I know you can't do it.
that we would attempt to raise.
Yeah.
I think we need to attempt.
Sorry, we're in the middle of a vote, it's already been proposed. If you don't wish to go along with it, you can vote against it. We can't change in the middle of a vote. I'm sorry.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, we've just had the vote, the result was clear, I move closure on this item.
We have had a vote. Those against, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favour, 5 against.
And I have to cast a
No,
vote.
you need to vote on the initial.
I against.
In the
In the initial, I'm against, and my casting vote is against.
Madam Mayor, can I just get clarity on something that I'm not fully understanding now? So we have a vote, but it doesn't go the way that is wanted. So we have another vote to encourage and whip a few more people to get a few, that's exactly what's going to happen, and it's going to show on the video.
It will show on the video that we were halfway through the vote, we never finished the vote. They didn't vote against it. We did not vote against it, I'm sorry.
So it's 6 in favour and 6 against if you're voting against in the original vote.
I am. And I have to cast a vote, and I'm voting against. Let's go on to the next item. Do you vote?
Please, can we have order, please? The members agree, we vote in favour of the budget.
Those in favour of that budget?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, may I request that this is a recorded vote?
Yes, of course, of course. Right, those in favour of the budget? Yes, I'm sorry. Who proposes we accept this budget? And the seconder, please. Councillor Strapp. Those voting in favour of this budget?
I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding. Who's in favour of the budget this way?
Let me explain, Councillor Sprague, you've just seconded the budget, you're only going to get it through on the mayor's casting vote. Does that clarify things?
Can we have some order, please? Can we not have chat across the floor? Those in favour of the budget? Sorry.
For clarity, this is the budget that includes 4 town criers.
Yes, yes. Those against? I vote in favour of the budget with my casting vote. And it's a recorded vote. Thank you. Item 2, setting of town houses precinct. Where should we go? Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. So members now, having set the budget, are asked to approve the precept demand to the Borough Council. This is a demand, not an application. The Town Council requires this money from the Borough Council, one of the few powers that the Town Council has, which is really quite a special one. You will have seen from a previous email from me that since the GMC meeting, because of a variation in which the Borough Council deems empty properties, that the tax base rose slightly. It wasn't a huge amount, but it did have an impact on the final precept amount. So the Band D property will pay £39, if you approve this, £39.99 per year, that's a whole year, for all town council services. And bear in mind that town and parish councils take just 2% of the total council tax bill, 2p out of every pound, and the increase represents a £3 annual increase of the Band D payer for the whole year. That's £3 for the whole year. And I believe, I may be wrong, but speaking to the Alderman Clark, that Alderman Parish Council have proposed a similar amount. And this was the amount that was also considered by the General Management Committee at its meeting on the 11th of November. So the question to you is, are you in favour of the precept demand?
Who's in favour of the precept demand?
It's unanimous?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item, Madam Mayor, through you, is the approval of the recommended earmarked reserves within the current year. This is not next year's budget, this year's budget, and it's just to formally adopt those transfers which have been budgeted for when we met 12 months ago. The first is for £10,000 to the election reserve, and we've calculated that the cost of holding the elections, taking into account when these are and estimated costs from the Borough Council. We've believed that £10,000 is the correct amount. It's an amount that we looked at the in-house audit subcommittee as well. And then the second is for the van replacement fund of £2,000. I won't go into the detail now, but as you know from future years, with the electric van, we'll be funding the van in a different way. But for this year, the amount budgeted was £2,000. So you just are now asked to approve those two transfers so they can occur before year end and we close down the accounts.
Everyone agree? Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now we go on to item 5, annual parish meeting. To consider arrangements and start of an annual parish meeting scheduled for the 9th of March. Anyone have any comments? No? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Newman, I didn't see you.
Thank you, Madam. I had two requests or proposals, suggestions in light of previous meetings. Firstly, that there should be a clear set of meeting procedure rules or standing orders by which the annual parish meeting is conducted, and those should be circulated and the mayor should be briefed on them in advance after the events at the last annual parish meeting, when the rules for the meeting were not clarified until after the meeting itself, and the mayor didn't receive any training or briefing on the meeting, on the rules under which that meeting was conducted. Secondly, in my view, the imperative of the annual parish meeting must be to enable the public to attend and raise issues of concern and receive responses, and that significant effort should be placed into publicising the arrangements for the annual parish meeting using social media, traditional media, and all mechanisms possible.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I just agree that the annual parish meetings have been, since we have had Hugh as our clerk, they've increased significantly. We used to have 10 or 15 minutes, and now we have a good deal of the public coming in. Perhaps we do need to encourage more people to come along, and hopefully we will be able to do that, but it's a couple of years since we've been able to meet together face to face. Let's hope that this annual parish meeting we will be able to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Button.
Yeah, not to be doom and gloom, but you never know. Hopefully, touch wood and everything coming out of the pandemic, and that will be the case. But what sort of reserve plan will we have in place in case there is an additional wave that could become deadly?
All right. Yes, please, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, yes, as you know, we had the meeting on Zoom last time, so if there were another wave and we were required not to hold face-to-face meetings, then yes, we could actually quite straightforwardly go to a Zoom meeting again for that. So that's to answer Councillor Butler's question. In terms of the publicity of the annual parish meeting, yes, we'll go to great pains to ensure that the public can attend the meeting. The emphasis is put on the fact that the meeting is not a council meeting, it is a public meeting which the council facilitates. So an unusual meeting, so yes, the public must be encouraged to attend. And I think we've got either a half page or full page plan in the next town crier to advertise for us as well, but we'll also use social media and the website and any other, perhaps even a small item in the Bournemouth Times as well to encourage people. But we would also ask that those members who do use social media also share information about town council services and events, including the annual parish meeting. So I'd ask that members to seek to do so. I think in recent years, we have had on a number of occasions quite a full house in terms of the annual parish meeting. In fact, I wondered on one or two occasions whether we would fit everybody in. I think at one particular annual parish meeting, we had 25 listed speakers from various organisations to champion and showcase the work that they have been doing in the community and voluntary sectors. So I believe the council can be quite proud of the types of annual parish meeting that we've had at this particular authority in the last 10 years or so. And long may it continue. But it is a statutory function of the council to hold this meeting within a certain time every single year. So yes, we'll do absolutely everything following Councillor Newmark's suggestion to champion it. In terms of standing orders and procedures, I have taken advice about standing orders for annual parish meetings. And whilst no formal NALC international guidelines are produced on that, what I can do is set out a set of procedures and guidelines for this authority to follow based on what the current legislation is, and share that with everybody and brief them there beforehand as well, if that would be the best way to do that. So I hope that answers all three questions.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Carson.
No, I don't want to be considered as a owner, but I would like to have some hand sanitizer and face masks when we come for these meetings.
Madam Mayor, happy to. There is hand sanitizer in the corridor as you come in on the wall, but we can have a box of face masks as well for members of the public or councils to pick up.
I'm sure that can be arranged. Fine, Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. About the annual parish meeting, we need to have a list of people attending an organization just to make sure that we don't have too many people here considering the current situation.
Well, obviously, through you, Madam Mayor, we haven't got a crystal ball, so we don't know how many people will actually turn up on the night. But yes, every year what I do is prepare a list of those speakers that we have so we can choose some sort of order and get some structure to the meeting. But what we really need to do is to enable people, as Councillor Newmark has said, to feel that they have got a voice at this meeting, that they can come and speak if they want to. But in the last few years, we tend to have a list, often from voluntary sector peoples. I think Food Bank, for example, come and give a present, but Scouts, many other organisations locally, and it's a really nice forum for these organisations together to sort of cross-fertilise and to speak to one another about their services they provide as well. But it isn't just about that. Any member of the public who is actually an elector, they can't be outside of the area, who is an elector, may come and speak about any issue that concerns them, not town council related business alone. It shouldn't be a forum for members to come and raise issues or concerns about town council services. That should be done as a council meeting. The annual parish meeting is anything that affects them in their area.
Thank you very much. I think we have in the past passed on requests to borough councillors, etc. if it's something we don't deal with, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that. Sorry, Councillor. Yes.
I wanted to really just add to what the clerk said. For me personally, the annual parishes that I was able to chair was more about a celebration of everything that's good in our town. Remember last year we encouraged as many local charities working to help people in the pandemic come and speak to us and publicise and tell us all the good they've been doing. And for me, I feel that that's really what the annual parish is about.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We now go on to item 6, account for payment.
Yes, unfortunately, the Deputy Clerk and Finance Officer is on sick at the moment, so I don't have any physical accounts for payment to present to you. I'm happy to email them separately from this meeting, but we'll have them for the next full council meeting to approve the ones that are doubled up.
Thank you. I'm sure all members here will wish our Deputy Clerk the very best of health and hope, please pass it on and hope she'll be back with us soon. I'm sure you all will agree. Yeah. Item 7, signed minutes. To note the signed minutes of the committee meetings to form part of the official council minute book, as agreed by full council, to be viewed by members on town council website in place of hard copies. I'll go through the list. The Entertainment Committee, since the 5th of October, I apologise. Environment and Planning Committee since the 19th of October. General Management Committee since the 7th of October. Transport and Community Forum since the 30th of June. And the Youth Council since the 13th of October. I now go on to item 8, freedom of information requests. To note following freedom of information requests submitted to Town Council since previous council meeting. On the 22nd of November, Town Crier costs, and there was a response on the 6th of December. Councillor Newman.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's a bit odd in our item on the freedom of information that we don't actually get the information as to what it's about. I mean, it's all very well knowing that there was a FOI request on that date on that item that we responded, but it sort of defeats the purpose of the principle of freedom of information. So could I ask if we could get some detail about that, and that in future, when we have such items, actually the request itself and the response are tabled in the minutes or published on the Town Council website?
If members, I will say that this is the way that other authorities present the information for freedom of information requests. What I mustn't do, having been on freedom of information request training, is seek to interpret the request as simply to provide the information given. But given that it's in the public domain, I'm just querying the GDPR position here. I will more than happy, I think I did last time on Councillor Newmark raised a similar question. Of course, send the response and the original request to all members, but I may just redact the personal information from that first, if you're with me, because I don't necessarily think that in making a freedom of information request, you waive your rights not to have all your information displayed on the Town Council's website. So happy to do that. Although what I will say is that with every freedom of information request that we have received, the responses, I'm probably setting myself up for a fall here, aren't I? But the responses always seem to conclude that request. There haven't been any further requests or criticisms or complaints of the council once that information has been provided. I have been on the freedom of information training course provided by HAPTC, which is conducted by a law firm in London, and I will say we are very thorough at this authority in responding to freedom of information requests. It's something we actually really pride ourselves on, is making sure that we are fully open and transparent in the way that we conduct things and very careful in the way we record information.
Thank you, Councillor Vince.
Thank you. Can I ask that in the town crier, we do an article on freedom of information requests? And because we are seemingly good at responding to such things, could we actually let people know what they can ask for, how they can ask, so we can be transparent in the most open and honest way? Even suggesting that they do it through What Do They Know or somewhere like that can give assistance on how to do it. But it would be nice for our residents to be able to ask as many questions as they wish.
Well, there are questions for members to decide, but just 1 minute, Councillor. May I point out to you, Councillor Vince, it takes a tremendous amount of officer time and therefore cost the council an awful lot of money. They could be rather petty, I don't know how to put it politely, unnecessary, could create an enormous amount of unnecessary work. But that's only my opinion, of course.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just respond to what you said, because you was talking to me?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, but these freedom of information requests are coming from the same people that pay us to be here. So under those circumstances, even if we consider their requests petty, I think we should answer them, and transparency should be at the forefront.
Madam Mayor, one way to deal with Councillor Vince's request, I'd be happy to write an article for the Town Crier about freedom of information and submit that to the Town Crier subcommittee. And if that subcommittee approves that article for submission, then it can be included, and if it doesn't, then we can look at it again. How does that resolve the issue?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, the town clerk's just actually signed off on it, so that's fine.
He answered it. Thank you for that. Thank you. We now get to item 9, outside bodies. To receive reports from members serving on outside bodies as follows. Fairway Hall, Town Clerk, please.
Thank you. As you know from the last meeting, there was some queries about the outside bodies and the way this Town Council reports on the member liaison representatives at each of the various organisations. That issue is going to be considered by the General Management Committee as agreed at its meeting on the 3rd of February. So just to clarify that point first. In terms of Fairway Hall, just some brief statistics about the usage. I'm very happy to say that it's really picked up. And as Councillor Butler alluded to before, all being well, we're really back on track with the weekend bookings, to the extent that people are finding it quite difficult now to find a slot for a weekend booking. So since the last meeting, we've had 25 and a half hours of charity use of Fairway Hall, 32 hours for children's groups, 30 hours for children's parties. The council building was closed for 150 hours over the Christmas period. For community use, 10 hours, 6 hours for council use, 5 hours for fitness classes, 24 hours for private functions, and 5 hours for religious groups hiring the hall. So 286 hours in total since the previous meeting. So over the Christmas period as well, it's not that's certainly an increase in terms of usage. And working here every day, I have to say, there is a feeling of industry downstairs. You feel that there's a lot of meetings and classes going on. But in terms of bookings, those that have been booked and yet to happen, that is hugely increased to the extent that people are finding it difficult to find a slot for a weekend booking.
Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick comment, really. Could you take back our thanks to the staff who have managed to keep the place clean, tidy, and safe for all who've used the hall and the facility through the COVID pandemic? Thank you.
I'm sure that's on behalf of all of us, isn't it? We're very grateful for all the work they've done. Very grateful. Leaving Aycliffe Big Local Advisory Panel. Councillor Brent.
No update, Madam Mayor.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Elstree and Bournemouth Museum Group, Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. From the museum and Elstree and Bournemouth Museum Group. Yeah, I visited Elstree and Bournemouth Museum on the 17th of January, and I collected the following information. There are 20 volunteers at Elstree and Bournemouth Museum. Meanwhile, 6 of the volunteers gave me a guided tour of events at the museum. And so currently, the previous Hobby City exhibition is being removed and replaced by a new exhibition. And the new exhibition theme is, the theme of the new exhibition will be called Off the Rails, the line that never was. That's the theme of the new exhibition. There was a railway that was planned to be carried out, I think, but it never came to anything. And it was explained about the abandoned rail project, which came to a halt in the year 1949 due to the Second World War. The museum is expected to open its exhibition to the public on Thursday, the 28th of January, and it will feature model trains, signals, and people of the Underground Railway from Edgware Station to Bushey Station. In order to buttress the exhibition, new panels are being installed to accommodate many of the exhibitions for the public to enjoy. They are placing new panels so that they'll be able to hang out a lot of beautiful paintings and maps and other things in the museum. I would like to say thanks to Bushey Station for lending a map to the museum. Bushey Station, they kindly lent us a map so that it will be displayed, showing all of the project, the particular project, how it would have been carried out, and the various stopping points and other things. Yeah, but so Bushey Station, they did lend the museum a map. And it is noteworthy to extend thanks and appreciation to the active 6 volunteers. The museum has 20 volunteers, of course, but 6 volunteers They are there putting, they are the ones who are working tirelessly, hanging up the panels, and at the same time, they are going about building the model for the museum. And I would like to name the volunteers, Mr. Armitage and Mr. DeSuarte, Mr. Robbins, Ms. Stratton, Mr. G, and Ms. Stem. They are actively making this project to come to fruition. So our thanks and appreciation go to them from the museum group. And meanwhile, I'm urging each and every one of you to make it your business and visit the museum, which is located at 96 Shenley Road. Of course, I'm working, all of you folks know the place. And at the same time, you can pass the message over to others, because some folks, they do not even know that upstairs in the library on the 3rd floor, there's a museum. So if you can pass the message, that would be great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this concludes my report. At the same time, if anybody has any question, I'm willing to answer.
Councillor Buttons, you got a question?
Yeah, sorry, my original information was that the museum was reopening on Thursday the 20th. Have you got an update from that from your recent visit?
Yes, I was just at the museum this on Monday, and I was told that it's going to be open on the 28th.
You replied, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't normally open on Friday.
No, but I was told that it was going to be open on the 20th. Maybe it's erroneous on the part of one of those volunteers. But I was told that it's going to be opening on the 28th. That's when they are going to complete all of the setup. And probably.
I just wanted to make sure that trying to find out exactly when it is opening and let everyone know.
Yeah, that's when I was told it's going to be open.
Thank you for a very comprehensive report. Bournemouth and Elstree Twin Town Association. Councillor Benson.
I've got no update, thank you.
Elstree Bournemouth and District Community Association. Councillor Parnell. Report, please.
Yes, in the final weeks of 2021, including the time between Christmas and New Year's Eve, the Hearts Health team really ramped up the vaccination booster program. The volumes achieved were helped by the removal of the 15-minute waiting time for Pfizer jabs. This meant that instead of vaccinating 140 people per hour, they could do 200 per hour. Just prior to Christmas, they hit the magic number of 100,000 vaccinations at Allen Manor. The result of this increased activity has meant that the vaccination program for January and onwards into February has slowed right down, as all eligible people have been invited. Bookings are picking up for the major functions in 2022 and 2023, and we anticipate this increasing. However, with the continuing increase in Omicron virus numbers, we have also seen some cancellations. 92% of regular customers who are Allen Manor pre-lockdown have returned, and we have some new customers as well. There has been particular interest in art, and we have had 2 new art groups start up. Again, with the Omicron variant, some groups are struggling with numbers. Bridge has been down by about 50%. A yoga class has moved from the hall to the house because their numbers have dropped, and weekly BNI network group has had about 30% drop in participants. Hopefully, as the number of infections decrease, these numbers will increase back up. The COVID-19 Assessment Centre, where patients are assessed by an on-duty doctor, either by phone, in person, continues to be very busy, and we anticipate them being here until at least the end of March. And can I just say, which is not on here, but it's about Michael. Michael died last Monday. He was the nicest man you could ever meet. He was helpful in any way. Whatever event anybody put on, he was there for them, wasn't he? You know, the people that have sent in messages, I was there at the AGM, and people that have sent in messages about him, what a lovely man he was. Honestly, it was very, very sad to hear it, because he didn't, when we used to want to give him remuneration for helping us with the chairs and all of that, he very rarely wanted to accept it, and his son was there. He came to speak to Tony, so he was there, and he heard all the things that were being said, because he was on virtue. But I actually went into to the manor. He said the reason he didn't want to accept remunerations from anybody is because he never had very much, and he didn't want very much. So it's sad. I think it's sad. It's a sad thing that he died 64. He was. So I'd like us to remember him, really, because he was one of the nicest men you could possibly meet. Honestly.
Councillor Rubin.
Just want to say this is devastating news. I have a lot of people in Michael in the 2 years I was town now, helping with gratitude. You know, it wasn't a word that was within his vocabulary. And I would say also, I had a lot of dealings also with other organisations that I volunteer in. He was one of the nicest, most genuine, honest, helpful people that I knew. And I don't think with permission from the mayor, would it be possible for this authority to at least send a letter of condolence to Michael's family? Because he made such a huge impact within the community. When it was on furlough, he wasn't being paid by Alan, but he was every day, because I was there every day, with gratitude, unloading those trucks, loading the trucks, carrying tables and making teas and coffees for the volunteers. He didn't need to be there. He had cancer, he told me about cancer. And I remember saying to him, why don't you not smoking? He said, well, that's very better. And so if the town council could send some sort of a letter of condolence, he would just have a letter of
Councillor Butler.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to echo those views. Yeah, I've known Michael for a long time, and then when I heard the news, I was very, very sad and taken back. I would support Councillor Rubin's recommendation. This authority writes a letter of condolence, not just to the family, but also to the other Alan Manor as well, just to, say thank him for the hard work and appreciation that he put in for that organisation. He was a really, really.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the whole town and everyone here. We send the family deepest, deepest condolences.
What his son said on Tuesday, that he doesn't want, they don't want flowers, and they want a donation to go to Manor. That's what he wants. He thought, apparently, he loved the place, and that's what he would like. So if we were going to send flowers, it's a donation they would like for the manor. That's what his son said. So I don't know if we could do that. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, this is.
Councillor Butler.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm happy to make a recommendation. I mean, I'm happy to chip a few quid into a donation as an individual councillor. If others like to join me, I'm happy to hand that money over to the clerk and make sure that gets to the appropriate people. So, rather than joining with me, I'm happy to do so.
As everyone wishes, of course, it's their own personal pocket, but we'll definitely send a letter offering condolences. Councillor Spratt.
Yes, we sent an envelope round at the end of the meeting.
We're going to pass on.
Yes.
Not
Oh, gosh, yes.
Don't take it.
Yes.
Thank you, that will be done. The letter will be written. Parks Mencat, Councillor Emily, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the last meeting, the committee had not met yet. Only that the planned Christmas party for the members was postponed to spring due to the Omicron pandemic. Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe we'll have a late Christmas.
Yes, in spring.
All Alden Country Park, councillor Strack.
Alden Country Park Advisory Panel Report. The Alden Country Park Trust Limited have put in a definitive map modification order, and the inspectorate have provided the deadlines for presentation of evidence for the written inquiry which will take place later this year. Herts County Council will have to provide their statement of case by the 2nd of February. Alden Country Park Trust Limited have to provide their statement of case by the 15th of March. The PDF bundles will be available to us on the 26th of April. ACPT Limited collected evidence of use as of right from 1954 to 1974 and submitted them to the Secretary of State in 2013. Herts County Council had to provide updated statements from the evidence givers last summer. Just to prove the longevity of people in this town, my husband, my brother-in-law and I, and Goddard and Florian Peter Cowley were all there still to be able to give, reiterate that evidence. So we're hoping that this will go to PINS and that the whole path around the Alden Reservoir will be registered as a public footpath. Alden Renaissance had a good October half-term and Christmas, with a good take-up of their drive-through, much better than they had expected. So their profits were used to refurbish the toilets. The ABC, this was registered on December the 5th. Thanks to John Cartledge and his persistence, Elstree and Borehamwood Town Council were able to succeed where ACPT Limited failed. If the site is put up for sale, a community group would have 6 months to raise the funds to buy it. The joint statement by Caroline Clapper, Don Azaroff and Jerry Evans was very much welcome. They want to investigate a compulsory purchase order for the reservoir because it's in such a poor state. They will involve the public and statutory bodies, Elstree and Borehamwood Town Council, Alden Parish, as well as HCC and the Hertsbury Borough Council. Members of the advisory panel welcomed this news. Elstree and Borehamwood Greenbelt Society offered to be an honest broker to commission an independent dam report paid for by the Gosramis. That offer has not been taken up. The sailing club would return if the water level were restored. The Angling Society has been given notice to quit by the end of March, and that's very sad that yet another use of this reservoir is being denied to many public that would want to use it.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? No. Maxwell Park Management Group, Councillor Chance, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As of last time, please confirm it is still standing, it's still there. I know there were concerns raised last time. But no, I just want to say it's doing really well. There is a fantastic range of clubs, activities, sports, dance for all ages, and also support groups there available as well. And they have a brilliant Facebook page which is regularly updated, and also have a website. So it's very accessible to residents, and also seems like they're seeing good attendance at these events. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. First impressions group, Councillor Palmer.
Okay. Meeting of First Impression Project Board, the meeting by Zoom will be arranged as soon as Thameslink confirms its timetable to complete our Passenger Benefit Fund project. The Passenger Benefit Fund, after full public consultation, First Impressions submitted a bid on the 1st of July 2019 for £80,000 which will be allocated to Elstree and Borehamwood. More planting on the station forecourt at the start of April 2021, Small shrubs were placed in 6 planters on the station forecourt near the taxi rank. Another 5 small planters were added to the area by Alan Lane, and the large planter created 6 years ago by the Youth Council was weeded and partially replanted. Extra seating. The 2 new seats requested in 2019, one inside the booking hall and one out in front, were installed in late December. Electronic information kiosk in front of the station. On the evening of the 22nd of November, the new kiosk was delivered, installed and connected to power and broadband. The kiosk displays real-time information on train and bus departures as requested during the consultation. Several virtual meetings have been held since the supplier 21st Century and detailed screen layouts are being finalised. We continue to receive artwork and text from a range of local film and TV entities, as well as community service groups and members of First Impressions. Public spaces. In July 2021, Mayor Councillor Turner, Councillor Ennie and Ian Kershaw, Hartsmere Head of Street Scene, took a 2-hour tour of the public spaces, including Centenary Place, a site which First Impressions and the Youth Council helped to improve. Councillor Butler contacted us before Christmas and about the improvement project in which he is now working. Thoughts on First Impressions for Town Crier. The article will be submitted for publication in the summer edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 10. Councillor Connor.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. In addition to First Impressions, today I went over to the train station because First Impression collaborates with train operators. And I went there and the folks, they got in touch with me, some of the passengers, they got in touch with us with regards to when it rained the last time. They went and the ceiling, everything was made very well. But sadly, it has started to leak again. And I hope to bring this to Mr. Kershaw, Mr. Lambert, to his attention. And also there was a leakage in the females' toilet. In fact, Councilor Kaza and I went to the place. But what I'm bringing this to this group so that we can think about how to go about and ameliorate this thing, to liaise with those who are taking care of the train station.
Well,
But I'm saying this to say, Madam Mayor.
I don't think this comes under.
Yes, it does, Madam Mayor, because it's not really about saying that the nicest things about what is happening in the train station, but equally so, the users, the train users, they approach me as a councillor, as well as Councillor Kaza. And then we're told we're going to bring this over to the meeting so that this will be addressed and then we also talk with this, elaborate others. Because it's not only about saying the nicest thing about the train station, about flower planting, everything in place.
I mean, I'm happy to be corrected, but I wouldn't have thought that damage, that sort of thing at all comes under the town council. It's not under the
No,
council.
Madam Mayor, it may not come under the town council. What I'm trying to get across is this: we as councilors, people elected us, and
Yes.
when they have some grievance, they come and talk to us, and therefore then it is our responsibility to bring it to this body and talk about it. Even we are not policemen and things, but people talk about safety issues.
Yes.
When we discuss about it, and then we flag forward as to who is responsible for such. Thanks.
Councillor Whitney.
So, I usually trains twice a day every day and pass through the station. But I just want to say that this report was about First Impressions and with regards to the situation, we've got leaks, etc. within the station next door for the transport and the community safety forum. And our colleague, Councillor Carson, I'm sure if we ask you, I'm sure he'd agree to be on the agenda for the next transport and community safety forum.
Thank you, Councillor Connor.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Simon, I didn't quite hear what I was going to say, that this isn't really for me, this is the place, this is a first impressions just report. But the trunk, I think that's why I was asking, what is it? Because I heard a little bit of it, but not, that it needs to go to yes, correct. Okay, thank you, that's fine. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, item 10, public participation. Question time. 15 minutes of the meeting will be given over to questions from members of the public relating to town council business. Councillor Oswald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Aldenham Reservoir is facing an existential threat, as I'm sure we're all aware here. The draining in particular, the water levels of the reservoir have never been lower in modern times. And you'd all be aware about the potentially, we've got growing evidence of the potentially catastrophic impact of the draining on the aquatic life, on the wildlife and on the ecosystem as well. But we're also at a crossroads, aren't we? And I'm sure everyone in all the councillors here present would agree that it's a really crucial time in the reservoir's future. And, personally, I thank the work that the councillors here have done in terms of getting the asset of community value forwarded to the Borough Council. I also welcome Councillor Strack's comment earlier about the cross-party efforts that we're making in the Borough Council, started by myself, Councillor Clapper and Councillor Evans. So there's a lot of positive things going on to counter this threat. And now there's also efforts underway to explore the possibility of a compulsory purchase order. And so really, we are at a crucial time. We are at a really climatic time in the history of the reservoir. And we are at a time of great potential between us, cross parties, together with residents, groups and so on. So my question to councillors here today is, I'd really like to ask each and every councillor in this chamber to please commit to holding an emergency town council meeting to discuss the future of Aldenham Reservoir and the town council's position. Thank you.
Councillor Strack.
At this moment in time, I think that you're still investigating whether a compulsory purchase order is feasible. I don't think we can call an emergency meeting until many of these issues are clearer. There are other things going on in the background as well, which you may not be aware of, and these will impact on the reservoir. So I would urge caution at the moment. Wait until you as a group and your cross party, so that's fantastic that you're working together, and come back to the next full council meeting, because then we can, or at another meeting, bring the idea of an emergency meeting forward. There isn't anything, there's no certainty that you can bring a compulsory purchase order at the moment, is there?
Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe one suggestion, maybe I don't want to put more workload onto our town clerk, but maybe an additional agenda item if we can make a recommendation to GMC just to have an idea of what we could do if the site was made a compulsory purchase order, just so we can get some stuff in the pipeline now, start talking about it, get that communication going. So maybe we'll get some ideas for GMC. Thank you.
I'm seeing nods on my right, so I believe that's very acceptable. Thank you, if you're happy with that. Councillor Newmark.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I wanted to add that subsequent to the joint statement from Councillor Osaro, Councillor Clapper and Councillor Evans, we've been able to take that forward and negotiate a cross-party motion at the Borough Council that will be debated and hopefully passed next week, which will add the impetus to the push for a CPO and a move towards other solutions. That motion will also establish a cross-party grouping at the Borough Council together with senior officers to explore not just the CPO but other forms of action. And I think that the reason I would personally support the call for emergency meeting is to make sure that as the most relevant local authority here, the town council is in a position to play its full role in whatever process the borough moves forward. I have no faith in the so-called sort of secret talks that we may or may not be aware of. We are all aware of them because that line gets thrown out every time. It just seems to be sort of code words and trying to do cosy deals with the owners that never deliver anything. I think that before COVID, this authority was asked by John Cartledge, I think very wisely, to convene a public forum with experts to do some of our own thinking and bring forward ideas to the table. Specifically, as a town council, I don't think we should be entirely reactive to what's going on elsewhere. I do endorse the call for a sort of open, wide-scale discussion on this, involving local people, involving campaign groups, because I don't feel it can do any harm. Otherwise, I feel we're just taking a reactive approach.
Thank you.
Councillor Stack.
But I actually think, we need to get our ducks in a row to know what we're actually discussing before we call any form of meeting. Councillor Newmark is on GMC. The GMC meeting is not too distant future, and by that time, perhaps the cross-party group will have more information. Obviously, the Borough Council will have had their meeting, and the other items that I talked about, they should be under discussion for the public fairly soon. So, it's best GMC, and then we'll see what needs to go from there. Certainly, all of us here want to see that reservoir restored and in the public hands in perpetuity. And, I've worked very hard. I think